council minutes, and there's 2 sets.
Motion to approve both sets of council minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This time we're going to move on to comments from the general public. Before we begin, one of the policies that we've had that hasn't really been enforced is that when we accept testimony and comments from the general public, public's free to say for the most part what they want, but what we would not allow is cumulative commentary. In other words, issues that have been brought up in the past that are just rehashed over and over again is something that we're not going to allow. We'll listen to certain issues and deal with them, but once they've been dealt with, you're free to speak about anything else other than those same issues again. That in mind, I'd like to invite Pastor Lord, Leonard Lord. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Leonard Lord. I pastored 8114 Lee Oak Kid Avenue. I just want to, you've got the updated flyer. This is the finalized thing. You know, just in our prayer for the city, one of the pastors said, you know, I'd saw statistics that like 45% of our police department calls are at Walmart with all that goes on with the homeless, the stealing, things in the parking lot. So he just felt we should really zero in to pray for that, police department and Walmart, and to believe God that just by seeking him and asking him to believe that would drop off by half. And so I did talk to the assistant manager at Walmart, so working with the chief. So we're going to start our as you see, October 30, you'll see there we're going to have some prayer time there as we go out to the park, and this is the updated flyer. And the idea of this, for years we've had a neighborhood fish fry for a Halloween alternate, and so this year we decided it'd be good to do it in the park, and we'll have the trunk or treat where we'll have the treats for the kids, and hopefully the family can come out for a free fish fry, the children can have games, and then hopefully get the candy, and maybe they won't be wandering around in the streets. So that's the idea of it, just a fall festival. So here's all the information. If you got any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Also, our Thanksgiving dinner, we'd be honored if y'all would be there. Jaden's been able to be some with us, so he shared his heart. We've prayed with him. Also, Commissioner Fitzpatrick and her team's been there, helped with Cure Fast. But our Thanksgiving community dinner is actually the 11th. We make it 2 Sundays before Thanksgiving because we don't want all the leftover turkey and all running into Thanksgiving Day. And so that'll be the 11th after our morning service. So you're invited to come join us, and any of you that come, be glad to hear your heart, pray with you, encourage you, and honor you, and have a meal with us. If you can't make it for the service, come on over at noontime and have a Thanksgiving dinner with us, okay? And I'll be getting flyers on that. And then I understand with Linda, we'll be working in the park, so we'll be working on that. Thank y'all. And remember a little wisdom. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run in and are safe. But the rich man's strong city and his deception is his well. So we just want to humbly look to the goodness of the Lord in our city. So thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor Lord. The next person that signed up is Miss Pat Rogers. Welcome.
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset Boulevard. First, I want to thank the Public Works Department, or actually Utilities Department, for replacing water lines in front of my house on Limestone. It's had 3 water leaks this year. And it's a line that runs across down the street and then down a side street. Also, I see your new truck is outside, and I'd like to have permission for us and your staff to go out and bless the truck after church, after this service here. Okay.
Thanks. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. That's all that signed up, but I see other members from the general public here. Anyone who wishes to speak, just raise your hand. Seeing no hands, I think that's all of the comments from the general public. We're going to actually go out of order. There's also comments from boards and committees. Any commentary from boards, committees? Seeing no hands at this time, we're going to move on to comments from our city manager. I'm going to invite Mr. Duke at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Update on dredging project. We haven't had any response back from county or treasury, so that project, I assume, is still circulating around in treasury, awaiting word for them. As many of you noticed, our vac truck is out in the parking lot, and I invite y'all to go out and see what you actually paid for. It's a beautiful truck. If you not had a chance to get up close and personal, this evening is the time to do that. Met with Cody River Landing engineers this afternoon, AIRS. Had a good meeting with them. They will have the conceptual plan delivered to us on the 25th of October. That's 2 weeks from yesterday. It'll give us time to get it put together. We'll put it on the agenda so you've got documents from that in next council meeting. There's a conceptual plan that includes Nick's Park, and so you'll have an opportunity to see their vision for that. We reviewed the topography findings. They shot several thousand topography measurements in the Cote River Landing area. Those findings did lead to the potential for some minor changes, moving sidewalks a little bit one way or the other to accommodate the topography and potential drainage issues. Nothing significant in the topography findings. Definitely nothing that's going to slow us down on the project. The AIRS team did say they have met with both Duke Energy and FDOT. Both are amenable at this point to moving forward with Duke is willing to look at some unique lighting. Apparently Duke has standards, and there's only 6 different types of lights that they'll allow you to put up. But because it's a special area, kind of a special theme, they're willing to consider some other possibilities. So we're going to get some flexibility on their rules. FDOT is amenable to changes at the intersection. Nothing in writing, nothing guaranteed, but once the conceptual plans have been delivered to Duke and FDOT, both of those organizations are interested in continuing the conversation. So, and AIRS will deliver those to FDOT and Duke as soon as they've delivered them to the city. So I would anticipate in the next 3 or 4 weeks they'll be getting back to us on meetings with FDOT and Duke. Had an opportunity to attend the monthly meeting with the county manager, got updates on county activities, county projects. The city of Port Richey has joined the Florida Rural Water Association. They are an association statewide that provides technical expertise, provides equipment, and have members all over the state and have support available to their community members. I had our staff reach out to them. They did have a representative come to my office within a couple of days of when we joined the association, and had a good visit with him, got a good understanding of some of the resources available to us. I had our staff reach out to them, and just as an example, they're going to help us with smoke testing some of our sewer system. That's a resource that we would have to pay for. You know, we'd contract for that, but as an association member, they'll do that for us. They have a sewer camera that we're going to utilize once we've done the smoke testing, figure out where the leak is, and we run the camera down the line, actually see what the problem is, and determine if we need to dig it up, if we can patch it from without digging it up. They've also got engineering assistance that we're investigating that may give us engineering services at a much better price than just going out and hiring engineers to do some of our water, sewer, and stormwater projects. So good start to that relationship. They've got a lot of training. We'll be sending our personnel to training as those come up. I've completed 4th quarter budget reviews with all of the department heads. That's a quarterly activity, and so I'll be getting a report to you here in the next couple of weeks about that. Finally, on Arpa funding, participated in a webinar this week. The Florida League of Cities put that on. Once again, most of the advice was wait for final guidance document to come out. When that comes out, nobody will put a firm date on it, but coming soon. So we're waiting for that. Lots of communities have questions about how do we get projects approved. The league's guidance was basically approve them at your level. Have your engineers, your legal, your financial look them over, but make that decision locally. I'm not sure that was a popular opinion with the communities. Everybody wants some guidance from outside. The league did say about 1/3 of the communities that are dealing with ARPA funds are hiring either firms or individuals to help them, help guide them in the expenditure of those funds. Finally, the funds have been received. and they are in the bank. We'll have the project list coming to you shortly and proceed from there. So we do have the funds, and work on how you want to spend those funds going forward. That's all I have. I stand for your questions. Start with my left.
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Kinsella?
I did have questions about fund. You said that some of the other cities are reaching out to consultants and so forth. Any thought on us doing that, or?
Yeah, I think that's something we should consider. And in the conversation, in the webinar, both the Florida League and the federal officials that they had said it's a perfectly acceptable use of ARPA funds to hire somebody to help you spend the ARPA funds. So I think that's something, you know, I'll bring back to this group and
Or we can follow the other cities, watch their mistakes, and make sure we don't do it, and keep that money?
Yes, sir. I'll stand for your guidance on that, but they did say ARPA funds it's an appropriate expenditure to hire an individual or a company to help guide that. But it was distinct. The feds aren't going to approve our projects, and the league is not going to approve our projects. They were very clear in saying, basically, y'all decide that amongst yourselves, and they may have guidance for us. What are other communities doing that we could look at? But there's no state or federal process to submit an application and say, is this approved or not? So we'll wrestle with that locally.
Councilman McClary?
So they'll just tell us if we did it wrong.
Yes, sir. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll ask for the money back. Oh, by the way, you did it wrong, and give me the money back.
I think that's what every community is fearful of, that we want to do it right, and they're basically saying, go forth and do.
Yeah, please investigate at least someone to blame.
Yeah.
That's all I have, thank you.
No, I didn't have any questions. So I think we'll close out comments from our city manager. Nobody signed up, but if anyone wants to spend their 3 minutes here, more than welcome. I see a hand. Mr. Mueller, welcome. Come on up.
Dave Mueller, 5439 Blue Point Drive. I think it was the last meeting, there were some comments made about progress with an inspection on the pier that was closed. Has there been any updates on that? And any of those other items that we have follow-up on? Maybe we could get an insight as to where that stands. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. At this time, we're going to open up comments from the City Council here. I'm going to start to my right with Councilman Kinsella, if you have anything.
That's a good question about the pier.
I don't have any update at this point. I think the way forward is we need to, based on the engineering report we had several years ago, that report recommended additional engineering survey of the actual structural integrity of the pier. And I think that's the next step to take, that evaluated so we know are the pylons safe or not. And then that'll give us a way forward to what to do next. So.
The other thing is, I want to compliment Mr. Dudes and your department heads. Those reports that y'all are providing us, very informative. Thank you.
Credit goes to department heads.
Very good reports. And it's through that, glad to see the direction we're going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I echo the comment on the reports. Very good, very well put together. Back to the pier, do we have a time frame for when we're going to get that engineering? Because obviously a lot of people use that pier. There's no pier coming in the near term that is an alternative to that. So I'd like our citizens to be able to use it, or at least have a path and a direction of, when are we expecting the engineering report? And obviously we'll have a time frame after the engineering report's issued, but if we could put together a date of when the engineering is going to be out there.
Okay, I'll put that together for you.
And I have a few things that I wanted to go over, but I'm going to touch on a couple things that you guys did. For the engineering report, I think that's going to be a non-budgeted item, so we're going to have to go back and talk about that, because that's going to cost a little bit of money, but my humble opinion is I think it's well worthwhile. It's a historic area. It's been there for a very long time in our city, and it's widely used, so even though it's not budgeted, I'd like to go back and address that if we can. One of the questions that I had is that I see that we have our department head reports are very, very nice, very informative. Are those posted online so our citizens can see them as well? Because I just wanted to make sure that our citizens can follow along other than having to pull our agenda packets.
Yes, I believe we're posting those.
Okay. The next thing that I wanted to mention is there's an Npo meeting Thursday at 10 o'clock here at the Government Center. I have it on my calendar to go. Most everything on there is perfunctory, other than looks like there's a couple of committee positions open, and there's multiple people that have put in, so there's voting on that. So that's probably the only thing that's going to be fairly contentious. I think different people have different opinions on who should be on those committees. So if you guys have any opinion and want to contact me before Thursday, I'm happy to talk about that. My thought is I would like to see someone from our side of the county, our area, on the committee, because we get a little bit more representation out here. So that's probably the way I was going to vote, just based on geographical location. But if you guys have a different opinion or a way of approaching it, just let me know. Boards and committees. I saw some conversation online. Some of the conversation indicated that our boards and committees should have a better outlined mission statement and outline of what we want them to accomplish as a council. So what I'd like to do is have our boards and committees maybe put together different projects that they're involved in and get committee reports, and then we can talk about whether or not we want them to continue moving in the direction they're moving, or if we want to set a different direction for them to go and outline a little bit in a little bit more clarity what direction we want our boards and committees to move in. And I didn't know if you guys wanted any comments on that, but I'd like to address that sometime down the road on a council meeting, just to make sure our committees and boards are moving in the right direction. And I didn't know if you had any opinion about that.
Well, I started the CAC committee back up a couple of years ago, and I think that's a great idea to get them to give a mission statement. You talked about the pier. That was my only question, so you covered it all by the time you got to me.
And what I'd like to do with the mission statements is, once we get a direction, is post that on our city website as well, so our citizens will know what our boards and committees are doing or working towards, if they're not already posted. And that's just my opinion. I'm not suggesting that's what we have to do, but it was just some comments that I saw in there, and I believe that may be a good way to keep our citizens informed, not only with what we're doing here in council, but with what our boards and committees are doing. And that's all the comments that I had. Councilwoman Sarli, you good?
Like I said,
Yep. Okay.
you got it covered.
And anything else?
So to say, I'm part of a committee that hasn't met in 4 years, so it'd probably be a good idea to
It'll be a
put
short
together-
agenda.
Yeah, put together a mission statement and all that, and maybe actually have the meeting. Well, I've never been to the committee meeting, period, even though I've been a board member, so it may help out.
Okay. So I believe that's all we have from comments from our boards and committees. I'd like to move on to the consent agenda at this time. And I'm looking for a motion to approve if there's no discussion.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're going to move on to council business. There's 2 items. The first item is going to be board and committee membership renewal, and that's for the fiscal year 2021. I'm going to pass that to Mr. Duke for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is members who previous members who have agreed to serve again. We had one committee member who was not able to serve again, still have a number of vacancies, and, you know, so help us recruit. If you want to serve on a committee, give us a call at City Hall, but these are the previous members who have agreed to serve again.
Motion to approve board and committee member list for 21-22 year.
Second.
Before we vote, because there's people from the general public here and there's a lot of boards and committees, I wanted to open it up to the general public for any comments before we vote. Ms. Rodriguez, welcome. Come on up.
Linda Rodriguez, 5917 Lantern Court. I did forget to bring up that my committee is one with a vacancy that just happened, so I would like to ask the public if you would like to join our committee. We would more than welcome your involvement in it. Contact City Hall, and we'll move forward. So please apply. We'd love to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Any further comments? Ms. Rogers, welcome.
Pat Rogers, 4838 Sunset. Is there a list on the city website that says what boards and committees need members? That people could go and look at if they're interested in joining us?
Yeah, we'll get it on there. If it's not, I'm not sure, but if it isn't, we'll get it up
So
there.
I'm not sure either.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Any other commentary from the general public? Seeing none, is there any reason for any discussion before we vote? Put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We're moving on to item 4, which is the approval of statewide mutual aid agreement. I'm going to pass that to Mr. Duke for introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a renewal of a agreement between the city and the state in the event of an emergency. If we were to ask for help, this gives us guidance for that assistance. Has been reviewed by legal. We're requesting a motion to approve the mutual aid agreement.
One question: how often do we review this particular agreement and vote on it? Is this an annual?
It's a one-year agreement.
Okay.
Has a 60-day opt-out if we decided we didn't like the terms of it, but it's a one-year agreement.
Okay. Mr. Matthew, any issues with the agreement? So.
I have no issues with it. Generally, what they do is, I have no issues with it. Generally, what the state does is it automatically renews. You can get out of it at any time. It automatically renews, and then about every 6 or 7 years, they want to change some of the boilerplate. That's kind of what they did in 2018. You're actually coming now to approve it, is what you're doing. So.
So the question I was going to have, was there any major changes between this previous?
No, none. There's an exhibit on here. I don't think you have it with these documents setting forth the prices we pay if they came in and stuff. So I didn't match it against the older ones. But otherwise, no, nothing at all of any significance at all. Nothing.
Motion to approve mayor to enter into statewide mutual aid agreement.
Second.
We'll just put it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we're going to move on to any old business. And I'm going to start to my right.
I have none.
Councilman Kinsella.
I have none.
There's also a resolution as part of the state agreement that we also have to make motions for.
I see that. Look, we're going to reopen and readdress item 2 for the mutual aid agreement. We voted by motion just now for the complete mutual aid agreement, and it was a 4-0 vote. Resolution number 2110 was not included in the motion, so we're looking for a motion for resolution 2110.
Motion to approve resolution number 2110.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we can close out item 2, reclose it. Old business, none here, none from Councilwoman Sorrell, none from this side. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye.
You were supposed to say that.
Hey, you said it, so you beat me to the punch.
Doing anything? Oh, we got another meeting.
And we have an executive meeting with just us coming up, I guess, here, so.
We gotta go out and see the back to 2100.